Welcome to the Regenerative Collaborative South Africa. The following is a video segment from January's webinar, From Invasive to Innovate.
What we are trying to do is to develop a model for doing invasive alien clearing differently, so to speak. And I will share with you some ideas about that, as will Jan. So the model that we're looking at is basically to say, if this is the context where invasive alien clearing takes place, how do you do alien clearing and follow-up and rehabilitation that it is actually financially viable, or at least financially self-sustaining? As many of you are probably aware, most of alien clearing that takes place, and it's been going on for decades, is either funded by government or it's funded by some form of donor funding. Now, Philly, in the last couple of months, maybe more than that, years, there's been a lot of cutback from government funding side, which means that organizations working with alien clearing gets into a situation where it's stop-start work. People are not sure of renewal of contracts, which obviously have knock-on effects for efficacy and for creating permanent employment. So invariably, people are more dependent on government and donor funding than I think what it should ideally be. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, what we asking questions about is, how do we do this? How do we do alien clearing and follow-up and rehabilitation while not exploiting the environment or people? In other words, often when we see logging companies operating in the Overberg, which is the area where we work, what they do and how they do it is very often associated with bringing in heavy machinery, and the negative impact on the environment is quite substantial. Because taking out clearing of, say, for example, pine trees, it's not in a plantation setup where there's neat roads and easy access and level contours and that kind of thing, but it is an infestation. So regenerative space was really started with saying to ourselves, is it possible to develop a model that can bring these two aspects closer together, doing the work but without the exploitation? The way in which we work, our approach is very much a process, a development process that is an iterative process. We try to play a role of initiation and to act as a catalyst. And in saying that, I think what we try to do is to ask difficult questions, to ask the sometimes perhaps unpopular questions about how things are done. We don't think that it is a good idea to just follow the traditional way of doing things. In playing that role, it also means that we, in some way, we incubate ideas that's not been out there before, or out there necessarily long enough for people to have experimented with. So I think in some way we position ourselves to be in a position where we can do that obviously then leads to innovation. And I think part of the innovation is not only innovation in terms of how clearing is done. It's actually not about that, because there's been many other organizations around who's doing alien clearing for much longer. The innovation that we bring to the table is around the business model or the financial model for trying to do it differently. And then finally, we try to integrate to the extent that it's possible with collaborators and people working around us. So our approach is definitely not to nullify the expertise and the experience of other organizations doing invasive alien clearing. To the contrary, I think that there's a lot that we've learned and that we continue to learn from them. But what we do bring to the table is that we are firmly of the opinion that our model that we're developing is hopefully going to put the industry, so to speak, in a position where we can come up with sizable solutions to a problem. In other words, we're trying to get to a point where we can say the size of the solution is matching the size of the problem. And I think up until that point, if we can't do that, then we are probably going to continue getting the same kind of answers. So right now, our hypothesis for trying to see if this alien clearing and beneficiation process could be financially feasible is really focused on three things. The first is to say that alien clearing can't take place in the absence of doing something with the biomass. If you have the biomass must be utilized in some way. Preferably, we need to get to a point where there's integrated clearing, where we use multiple skilled teams that can go in once, remove aliens, do chipping, leave behind infield products like poles, for example, that can be picked up and move on. The second thing that conclusion really that we came to over the last 18 months is that we need various commercial products. Any enterprise really who's trying to do this can't do it with one single product. The nature of the work is such that because it is not a plantation setup, one clean, neat product is not possible. In order for financial viability to be there, various commercial products are necessary, and Jan is going to touch on that just now. Then lastly, right now we at the point where we think that the third missing thing that we need to get in place is to say that we need some kind of key process that requires big volumes of indiscriminate biomass. In other words, a big thing that uses a lot of invasive alien biomass that can produce something, and it doesn't matter, it's not species specific, it doesn't matter what you feed into it, but it's going to process it and it's going to generate, for example, electricity. What I would like to do is I'm going to hand over to Jan. He's going to unpack all of this a little bit further. And before I carry on, I would like to make mention of two things. A lot of the work that we do, especially in testing and redesigning and pivoting, changing our thinking, developing that model, is thanks to the grant funding of two very big and supportive donors. The Oak Foundation has been in our corner from just about the start of Regenerative SPACE, and also the Lewis Foundation. And without them, it would not have been possible for us to be where we are right now in terms of the hypothesis and model that we work with.
Thank you for watching this RCSA video segment. Like and subscribe for more inspirational content.